If you want to gain an advantage on your opponents and discover the hidden mechanics behind reviving in Delta Force operations, then today I have you covered. Hey everybody, my name's Ben from the Beard Guys, and I've been spending hours testing every possible scenario involving reviving that you could possibly imagine. Today we're going to go over how the bleed timer changes during the match, how far away you can hear someone being revived, what you can do to slow down and speed up revives, and even some of the hidden revive mechanics that you might not know existed. Drop a like if you enjoyed the video, and feel free to drop a comment or stop by my live streams on YouTube and Twitch if you have any questions. So first up, let's talk about bleed timers and how far you can actually crawl whilst you're knocked. So when you get knocked for the first time in a game, you can have 50 seconds before you bleed out. Without any CSD upgrades, you're going to be able to crawl around 50 meters in a straight line, so 1 meter a second before this timer runs out. If you fully upgrade your CSD, your black sight, this gives you various perks to your stamina, but also MSPD, which is movement speed when downed. The fully upgraded CSD gives a 10% boost to this. So unsurprisingly, this then allows you to crawl 55 meters instead of 50 meters, so just over 1 meter a second. Remember these numbers because in a minute when we talk about how far away the sound of a revive can be heard, that's actually going to be really useful to know. Each time you get knocked after the first, that bleed timer will reduce slightly, starting from that 50 seconds, then it's going to go to 40 seconds when you're knocked for the second time, and then down to 25 seconds after that, and it will stay at 25. That's even if you get rezzed before you bleed out. If you get rezzed while knocked, that timer is still going to come down on each subsequent knock until you get to 25 seconds. It will also go straight to 25 seconds if you've been knocked again after having been fully killed once and then revived, so you're on your last life. Talking about last life, if that timer runs out, so you get knocked, you have the 50-second timer, you get flushed out, or that timer runs out, you then go into this state where you have 3 minutes to get revived and you can no longer crawl around. When you're in this state, it's going to take longer for your teammates to revive you, and also if you're not revived within those 3 minutes, then you're going to be fully dead and out of the game and you can't continue that round. If you are revived after bleeding out but before those 3 minutes expire, then you'll be back in the game, but you'll be on your last life. So if you then get knocked once more and flushed or the timer runs out, then you'll be fully out. There won't be another 3-minute timer. You're just out of the game. When you get revived, so you're onto your last life, you're also going to lose 20 max hit points for the rest of the round. There is a way around this we'll talk about a bit later, but generally speaking, you'll also lose some max hit points. There are some ways to slow down the knocked timer. If you pick up a player who is knocked and is on that 50-second or 25-second timer, that will pause the bleed timer indefinitely. You can carry them around as long as you like, and that timer won't go down at all. This applies equally to enemy bodies and also to friendly player bodies, but it doesn't apply to the 3-minute timer for people who have bled out already. So if they've already bled out or been flushed, you can't pick them up to stop that 3-minute timer. That's going to keep counting down until they are full dead. You can actually extract if you are knocked. If you're in the extraction zone and you get knocked and the timer runs out on the extraction, counts down to 0, you will still extract whether you're on the ground or even if you're being carried. But if you've bled out and you're on your 3-minute timer and you're in the extraction point, then you won't extract. Even if a teammate picks up your body and you've still got time left on the 3 minutes, you won't be extracted and your body or your box will just be left at the extraction point when your teammates leave. Next up, I wanted to talk about audible distance, the distance at which you can hear people reviving. By default, this is a 30-meter range at which you can hear the reviving noise, those beeps that happen when you revive someone. That's based upon having no hearing buffs whatsoever, and that's hearing it right at the edge of hearing. So if they have no other noise disturbing them and the headphones turn up really high, they might very, very slightly hear a beep. If they step back to 31 meters, there's no audio coming through whatsoever. So realistically, they might have to be slightly closer than 30 to hear this, unless they've got their audio up very loud. But remember, this can be buffed by hearing items in the game. So if you have the helmet with the 50% hearing buff, that's going to turn the 30 meters to 45 meters. It's going to add on around 15 meters. And then if they used a hearing stim, which gives you a 10% boost to hearing, then that's going to take that up to almost 50 meters, of which they can hear you being revived. Although I'd say it's unlikely someone's going to have a hearing stim and the 50% helmet on for most of the time. If you want to know the hearing distance for tons of different things in the game, by the way, I've got a video going over all of that. I did a deep dive into sound distance quite a while ago. I'll put a link to that video down below, but it's really useful if you want to know the distance at which you can hear Hatclaw sneaking, Nox's ultimate, jumping, crouching, climbing, sprinting, all this stuff. That's all covered in that other video. Now, this audible distance for reviving is worth remembering because, as we talked about earlier, the distance you can crawl when knocked is around 50 meters. So on the assumption that maybe most people are going to have a helmet that's probably 20% hearing buff, maybe up to 40%, and occasionally 50%, that's going to put the average hearing range for revives probably in the 36 to 45 meter range. That means if you get knocked and not flushed, which is a big ask, if you start crawling away from your opponents and crawl pretty much as far as you can before you bleed out, then if you get revived right at that extreme limit and your opponent hasn't pushed forward further, then they probably won't hear you get revived, because you're going to be able to crawl 45 meters away to 50 meters before you bleed out, and they're only going to hear the revive up to 30 to 45 meters potentially. It's also worth knowing that the audio for picking up a body, it makes a noise when you pick someone up, this has the exact same distance as revive, so you can't really get around this by picking up the body and then moving away, because they will hear you pick up the body just the same as they will hear the revive. But that said, when you pick up a body, that is just one short noise, so it may get covered by some gunfire, or could indeed be deliberately covered by some gunfire or some utility noise, whereas the revive noise obviously is a constant beeping over an extended period of time and is a lot easier to hear. So on to revive times, how you speed them up, how you slow them down. There's a couple of ways in which you can make revive times longer for your opponents. The first of those is if you kill someone with a bolt action sniper. This will increase the time taken to revive. That doesn't include marksman rifles or any other guns. It's just bolt action snipers, and it doesn't have to be a headshot with a sniper. Any down will do. You can literally shoot them in the foot over and over and you would still get this effect. It just has to be with a sniper rifle. The other way of making revive timers longer is if you're playing as Nox. The operator Nox has an ability where when he injures people temporarily, it takes them longer to heal, and also when you down or kill people, then they're going to take longer to revive from that. That's not a timer that expires, so when he injures people, that's a short thing on a timer and you can wait for it to end and then you can heal like normal. But when you're knocked or killed by a Nox, there's not a timer on that to wait for it to go away and then revive normally. You'll just always have a longer revive timer until you're back on your feet. So what are the revive times exactly? Well, if you're playing as a normal operator, so basically a non-support operator, if you're reviving a teammate who has been knocked in a normal way, that's going to take 10 seconds. And if they've bled out and need a full revive, that's going to take 15 seconds. If your teammate has been killed by a sniper hit, then from knocked, that's going to take 15 seconds. So the equivalent of them being dead from a non-sniper kill. And it's going to take 22 seconds to revive them if they've been killed by a sniper. So that's more than double the time it takes to revive someone who's just been knocked in a normal way. If your teammate's been knocked by someone playing as Nox, then it's going to take 14 seconds to revive them from knocked, so a big increase there, but 15 seconds from dead. So you don't actually get an increase on the timer from dead when playing as Nox. It only affects the knocked timer. Likewise, if you get killed by a Nox using a sniper, this does stack, but again, it only affects the knocked timer. So it's going to take 19 seconds to revive someone who's been knocked by a Nox sniper shot. So even if you're not flushed, that's a 19-second revive, making a Nox sniper play very, very powerful. It will, however, only take 22 seconds to revive you if you've bled out from a Nox sniper shot, so the same as if you've been knocked by any other sniper shot. If you're playing as a support operator, so that at the moment that's Stinger or Toxic, doesn't matter which, they both benefit from reviving more quickly. For a normal knock, that's going to be 8 seconds, that's 8 instead of 10, and then if they've bled out, that's going to be 12 seconds, that's 12 instead of 15. Likewise, for sniper kills, if your teammate's been hit by a sniper and you're reviving as support, it's going to take you 13 seconds to revive them from knocked, so that's 2 seconds faster than a non-support operator, and 19 seconds if they bled out, that's 19 instead of 22. If your teammate's been killed by a Nox operator, then it's going to take 12 seconds to revive them from knocked, and also 12 seconds to revive them from dead, so slightly quicker on both, but they are the same. And then a Nox sniper headshot is going to take you 17 seconds to revive them from knocked, so that's only 2 seconds quicker than a non-support support operator, and 19 seconds to revive them from dead, so that's instead of 22 seconds for non-support. So you can see it's not a flat percent, otherwise it'd take off a much bigger chunk for those long revives by snipers or by knocks, so it does just take off a fixed number of seconds from those revives. As well as those quicker revives though, there are some other really good benefits to using support operators for these. One of those is the class-specific benefit for Stinger only, which means that when you revive teammates, when they've bled out, they're not going to suffer from that 20% max HP loss when they're on their second life. They're going to have full HP, they'll still be on their second life and will be full dead if they get knocked and bleed out again, but they'll come back without any penalty to their max hit points. As well as that, when Stinger revives someone, they're going to come up on 40 hit points rather than 10 hit points. Toxic doesn't have those abilities, but everything else to do with revives is shared between all support operators currently, so presumably other future support operators will work in the same way. And there are some useful benefits there aside from the faster revives. Also, support operators are the only operators that can revive whilst prone. Other operators can't do this. When a normal operator is reviving someone, they have to stand up. They kind of crouch down to do it. But a big negative from this is that your view is locked down on the floor. When you're reviving as anyone non-support, you're just looking straight down and staring at your teammate in the face. You can't see anything. You have no peripheral vision really. But when you're reviving as a support operator, you can look up while you do this. You only look down very slightly and you'll be able to look in a particular direction and still get intel, see if anyone's coming whilst you're reviving. And like I said, you can also do this while proning as well, so you can reduce your visibility and try and stay hidden. Lastly, a quick note on Tempest. She also has some slightly unique reviving abilities. She can self-revive. She's the only operator who can do this. She can do this when her ultimate is active only. So if she's done her bungee cords into the ground and they're still active, if she gets knocked whilst in this state, she's going to get pulled back to where her bungee cords originated from, and she can then self-revive. She can also crawl. She can crawl in the same way that anyone would when they get normally. So if it's her first knock, she'll be able to crawl for 50 seconds before bleeding out. And she can choose whenever she wants to start reviving in that period. If you cancel the revive, she will immediately bleed out and go into a 3-minute timer, so keep that in mind. And the timers for how long it takes her to revive are exactly the same as if it was a normal operator revive. So 10 seconds for her to revive from knocked, 15 seconds if it's a sniper kill, 14 seconds if it's a knocked kill, 19 seconds if it's a knocked sniper kill. So that's everything for today. Hopefully you found that useful. If you did, then why not drop a like and a sub for more content like this. Remember, you can get Delta coins cheaper than buying them in-game by using my official Delta Force partner creator code link down in the video description. Thanks so much for watching. My name's Ben, we are the Beard Guys, and I'll see you next time.